Hi everyone and welcome back to the Crafty Yellow Camper. Today we are going to make a piece of Christmas home decor using a 12 by 12 box frame. I've done a little bit of preparation for this video so you don't have to watch me taking things apart. But basically once you take the back off this is a 12 by 12 frame from Hobbycraft. So I've just taken the back off. Which looks like this, just a piece of cardboard. Oh, sorry, dropped the camera there. And it's just got its hanging hook on the back. And when we start putting our project together, we're actually going to work on this board. But just so you can see, you might be able to see if I stopped hitting the camera. This board fits over the frame like that, and it has these little notches to hold it in. So the first thing you need to do is take the cellophane off your board frame, remove the backboard, and you'll notice that inside the frame it's got this internal frame, just a square piece of wood, and that sits in there. And you'll also notice that the glass has a little rim to it on the front of the frame. So if I just stick my finger in there, hopefully you'll see. So this is the edge of the frame. So although it is a 12 by 12 frame, and I can show you that by measuring with my 12 by 12 ruler, the backing board is a little bit bigger than the 12 by 12, and you can see that if I balance my ruler on the inner, that is what is the 12 by 12. You'll notice that the frame inside is a little bit smaller, so what you're actually going to see is just under 12 by 12, so that's important to remember that. It's also important to remember that this is bigger than 12 by 12, because when we are adhering some cardstock to this, you're going to need to make sure that it's central and that there's a little bit of a lip all the way around. So I'm going to move this frame out of the way before I knock it and break it, and we're going to start to work on our backboard. So you need to make sure that the clip is at the top when you're working, because this is going to be flipped over and put in to the frame. So obviously this clip to hang it needs to be at the top. Okay, so I'm trying really hard here not to hit the camera. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to adhere some 12 by 12 paper. Now I'm using the Snowflake DSP, and I've chosen to use, both sides are lovely, there's a lot of snowflakes on there. I've chosen to use this sort of moody blue and purple side. Okay, and you can see that I need to make sure that this is central, because when this board goes back on, the wooden frame that I just removed is going to take up that gap, and then obviously there's going to be a little bit more of a gap. So what I'm actually going to do is use some wet glue to stick this to the board, and be generous with the wet glue because this backboard is chipboard, so it will soak it up a little bit. So we're just going to go all the way around the edge, and then just for good measure, I'm going to give it a good squeeze in the middle. Don't put too much glue on, otherwise your paper will distort, particularly if you're using like a clear glue rather than the Tombow multi-purpose that I've just used. By using wet glue, it gives us a little bit of wiggle room. You're going to have to excuse me if I get my head in the camera now, because obviously I need to get this level as much as I possibly can. Right, I'm just going to have to pick up that board. Okay, once you've got it in the middle, leaving an equidistant gap all the way around, then obviously press it down into place. There we go, I think that's about right. If you want to check, once you've adhered your paper, if you bring back your frame, pop the board in on it, obviously hold it because otherwise everything's going to fall out, and then you can check. Can you see there? I've managed to get it in the middle, which wasn't bad going because I was working around a camera. Sorry about the glare off the glass, but you can check that you've actually got it in the right place. So we're going to take that back out again. And I'm going to remove that frame. Okay. Now we're going to layer up some elements onto this. And again, I've gone ahead and prepared some of them because I didn't want you to have to listen to me die cutting. Okay, what I've used is full sheets of A4 Whisper White thick to make this background, and on this is our base layer. You'll see I've got a bit of glue on there, if you can see that. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. If that happens, you can take it off with a glue rubber, or alternatively, in this case, this is going to be covered up, but I must have had glue on my table. There we go, let's just take that off. We don't sell these anymore, but you can still buy them from random online craft shops. If you haven't got one, they're brilliant. I'm hoping that Stampin' Up might start selling them again. Right, when we start to layer this up, we are going to need to make sure that this, try and hold that up so you can see this, that this is also level, because the A4 sheets aren't quite 12 inches. So it isn't quite 12 inches wide, but don't forget we are going to have that lip on the frame which will hide that. So again, when you stick your first piece on, you are going to have to make sure that it is level, equidistant again, with a little bit of a gap round the edges. Okay, you can take it down to the bottom of your A4, of your 12 by 12 paper if you want to, so that it's, oh, sorry, I'm doing a really bad job of not knocking the camera today. So that it gives you a line to work on. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I have used some of the curved dies from, oh, now I can't remember, Pinewood dies, I think, or In the Pines. And I've used some of those to die cut. Now, in order to get this curve along one edge, you have to put two dies together. Let me just grab them and I can show you what I did. So, unfortunately, a 12 by 12, an A4 sheet won't fit through the big shot. I'm fortunate enough to have a silhouette. So I have, no, a Gemini. Oh my goodness me. My brain is well and truly not working tonight. So I have a Gemini. So what I did was, other A4 die cutting machines will work equally as well. So I lined the dies up so that they were slightly overlapping. You can see these are 12 by 12. So you can cut a piece of 12 by 12 with them. Okay, but I needed the height for this back panel, which is why I used my Gemini. Okay, so you can cut that curve through a big shot if your cardstock is smaller, but the big shot will probably only take 6 inches, and I wanted this taller. So once you line the dies up, you just have to be careful that you sometimes get a little notch here where the two dies line up, but you can just snip that off with a pair of scissors after you've finished. So that's how I cut that continuous curve with the trees on there. Okay, it also gives us a little bit of a line. If I hold that up, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, where the die sits, because it's a thin die, so it's just this thin, where that sits, it just gives us a little bit of a line, but that's actually quite good. And you can see on there, hopefully, that I've added Dazzling Diamonds glitter, which unfortunately is another thing we don't sell anymore, but I managed to buy some before it went out of the catalogue, and I really am hoping that Stampin' Up might bring it back, but any glitter that you've got will do fine. And I've just used a fine tip glue pen to stick that on. Okay, so that's that. I'll show you how I do that, because I haven't actually glittered the trees. So let me just show you how I do that. So I'm just reaching for one of these fine tip glue pen. They were out of stock for ages, but they are now back in. And then all I'm going to do is grab my tub of glitter. I keep my glitter in either lock and lock tubs, or this is a Chinese takeaway tub. Just makes it easier to sprinkle it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on there. On the trees. Okay. keep a plastic spoon in there as well. Coincidentally, McDonald's McFlurry spoons are very good if you happen to be a fan of a McFlurry. And then I'm just tipping some glitter on there. Just give it a tap, and you can see, oh, hopefully the camera will pick up a little bit of glitter. Because I've used the fine tip glue pen, it's given it a little bit of depth as well. So I'm just going to pop that away. If you're messy, you could do this afterwards, but it is easier to get everything glittered up and ready to go before you start. But do remember to put the lid on your fine tip glue pen if this is what you're using. And actually the hole is so small that I can't do it without my glasses. So you need to put this pin back down, and that stops it from getting bunged up. Okay, take my glasses off now. Right, okay, so that's that glittered. So we're just going to give that a minute to dry, and I'm going to talk to you about how we're going to make this into a light up scene. Okay, just trying not to lose all my bits and pieces. I have a bit of a backlog of stuff on my desk right now. I'm making it easy. Okay, so what I've done is, obviously we've now got to wait for this glue to dry, which was a bit of a rookie move on my behalf, but you'll get the gist. I've gone ahead and I've put Stampin' Dimensionals all the way round the edge of this, and that is our base layer. And then I've gone ahead and done the same thing on 2 more layers. So again, I've used Whisper White Thick, and I managed to get the next 2 layers out of 1 sheet. So there are our 3 layers. Hopefully you can see that from there. There are our 3 layers. And what we're going to do is we're going to add some fairy lights to this. So I'm doing this while I'm videoing this, so excuse me if it doesn't make sense. Please feel free to ask questions after I've posted this, and bear with me while I work out the best way to put these lights in. So these are the lights that I've got. They come in a pack of 10 off Amazon. And they have 2 of these little round batteries, which I've discovered today, actually. Everybody's favourite £1 shop that doesn't always sell things for £1 anymore sells multi-packs of these round batteries. You get 2 of one design, 4 of one design and 2 of 2 others, I think. So just a tip if you run out of batteries, because they don't last awfully long. Okay, so what we need to do is these batteries have got to go behind all of our bits, and it makes sense to start at the back. You can see that I haven't glittered these trees, and I will do that later. Okay, so what we need to do, I've roughly measured these, and they are longer than we need to go along this curve and the 2 curves on the other 2. So what I was thinking we will do is light up the top of the frame. So I've just grabbed that, remember that wooden piece? I've just grabbed that. Now I think the best way to adhere these lights to our frame is going to be with glue dots. So we need to go into one of these ends and be able to come down to go in the next slope and then into the last slope. So I'm actually going to start with my glue dots on this side of the frame. So just for a minute, I'm just going to move that out of the way, and I've got my thumb roughly where we need to start. So, and the cat has just decided to come and play catch on the glue dot, on the lights, I think. Okay, so I've taken my thumb off there, haven't I? It's fine, I think I can remember where we were. So I'm just going to use my pokey tool end on my multi-tool, and I think we wanted to start about there. And what I'm actually going to do is go along the frame at random intervals with some glue dots to stick the lights. The glue dots are clear, so you won't see them. And obviously they're going to be along the edge of the frame anyway. So we're going to go up that edge. I don't know if you can even see. Oh, there you go. Hopefully you can see where I've put the 3 glue dots. And then we're going to go all the way along the top, and that should hopefully hold the lights in place. Okay, so I would be reasonably generous with the glue dots. The lights are on wire, so that does make it a little bit easier to bend them into place. And I can't even see where I put that last glue dot. I'll go there. Oh, goodness me. Oh, I think what I've managed to do is put down two glue dots at the same time. So I think we're going to get rid of those. Bella, off you get. Right, the cat's just having a look to see if she thinks that my backing board is going to be comfortable for her next place to sit, which is not ideal. Okay, so just carry along the frame. Using your pokey tool is easier to position the glue dots. And we'll press them into place once we actually get the lights on them. The only trouble with working at this time of night, it's about 5:30 here in the UK. It's dark, very dark outside, and trying to see where clear glue dots are is not the easiest thing in the world. Okay, right, I think we need now I'm sticking them to my tights. Need one more. Now I appreciate that you can't see what I'm doing, all you're seeing is the top of the frame, but because it's a 12 by 12 frame, it's not all that easy for me to keep it in shot on my mobile phone. So I will show you what I've done in a second, if you just don't mind listening to me whittering on. Right, so we need to make sure that we take the glue dots down the sides of the frame far enough that we can then send the lights behind that back tallest layer. Okay, now I'm using the Stampin' Up mini glue dots, but obviously use whatever you've got, but you don't want anything too big. Right, okay, so that's got some glue dots on there. I'm just going to lose that piece of paper. Right, now I'm going to grab the lights again. Because these lights are on wire, they do have a little bit of a life of their own, so you might have to manipulate them a little bit. Right, so we're going to start over this side, and all I'm going to do is press the wire from the lights into the glue dots. Now these are LEDs, so they shouldn't get hot, so don't worry about setting fire to your frame. And I'm just going to go round, just give them a good press into the glue dot. Once you get going, they might spring off the first few times that you try and attach them, but once you actually get a few attached, then if you've not been too stingy with your glue dots, then hopefully you should stay stuck. The other thing you have to remember is that the battery pack is heavier than the lights, so just make sure you sort of kink the wire into the corners, and then that will help it stay round the frame. Okay, so we've got our first layer of lights attached, and this is going to light up the top of the frame. Okay, so I'm just making sure that they are all stuck on where they're meant to be. If I turn on the battery pack, you'll be able to see. There you go. So I've started level with where our top layer is, and I've sort of gone round a bit lower on the other side. Okay, so that's that. Now what we need to do is attach to the layers. Okay, so I'm bringing back in that board, and I've actually just thought, I told you this was a work in progress, didn't I? I've actually just thought that, to be fair, the easiest way to do this, to not have this frame in your way all the time, would be to measure how much of the lights you need, roughly, and then leave that spare when you start sticking your backgrounds down. Okay, so what we now want to try and do is go along all of these edges that are die cut. So having this frame in the way is definitely a bit of a pain in the backside. So don't do as I do, do as I say. So keep measure your lights, roughly how much you're going to need to go round this section of the frame and start from here and leave that spare. So what we're now going to do is I'm going to turn this over. Those trees are almost dry while I've been faffing with those lights. Now you can see that I've put dimensionals on here, but we're going to need some glue dots for the actual lights to stick to. The dimensionals are just to lift it off the backing paper. So I'm just going to bring in my trusty glue dots again. And what we're going to do is that we're going to fit glue dots in between the dimensionals onto the paper. So I've made this more cack-handed for myself than it needed to be. So as I said, do what I say, not what I do. Measure your lights. Okay. And we want the lights to run along the edge of this. I'm really sorry this video is going to be a really long, boring one for you to listen to, isn't it? Watching me stick glue dots on things. Okay, feel free to fast forward. Right, okay. Okay, I'm having a few issues with my glue dots. Pesky little critters that they are. Okay, nearly there. Don't put them too close to the top because we don't want the lights to be poking out of the top. We want to be able to see them. Okay, and my other piece of advice would be don't take the backings off your dimensionals until you are ready to turn it over and stick it down. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we are going to run these lights along the back. So at this point, I am going to have to take the dimensionals off, which would make life so much easier, as I said, if you don't stick the lights to the frame first. I'm actually sitting here thinking I can't believe I was stupid enough to do that. In my defence, it's been a busy weekend. Got a lot of stress in my life at the minute. Both my parents are ill. Mum's been in hospital. Caught COVID. Hospital sent her home. I'm sure you don't want to hear about the hassle in my life. Right, okay, so that's all the dimensionals off. So this has got to go, allowing for a little bit of a gap. So excuse me while I stick my head in the frame. We've got our frame on here and we've got to allow for a little bit of gap for that bit on the outside of the box frame to cover up. Okay, so we're going to go there and hopefully that's level. So I've just literally pressed down the back dimensionals, and then what I'm going to do is feed in the lights. Okay, so as I said, I've totally made this hard for myself because if I hadn't have stuck the lights to the top of the box, then I could have flipped this over and just done this on the desk, which would have been way easier. So bear that in mind when you're putting yours together. Okay. Okay, so that's our lights tucked in behind that layer, and we need to come down the side for our next layer, which is going to be this one. Okay. So what we need to do is come down the side of the box again to here. So again, you could just lay those in like that and work out where you need to stick it to the edge of the frame and do that afterwards. But when have I ever made anything easy for myself? Right, okay, so repeat the process on layer number 2. So I'm going along with the glue dots. This honestly is the fiddliest part of putting this together. Once you get past this stage, it's a breeze. And who doesn't love a little bit of fiddly stuff at Christmas, eh? Okay. Okay, I'm conscious of the fact that this has taken a little while. All right, okay, so we're going to put one down there this time because we need to go down for the next layer on the corner. Right, okay, so we know where we want that now. So we need to feed that along. And what I'm going to do is leave enough of slack in the wire that I can sort of flip this. So you can see if I hadn't have attached my lights to the frame, this is way easier to go along. So again, don't listen to me when I tell you to do that. Okay, just make sure that the wires aren't showing because we don't want to see them. Okay, and if we go around that to that last one there. Right, now I should be able to take off the backs of these dimensionals. Am I the only one that finds dimensionals everywhere when I've been doing some crafting? I swear they take themselves off and hide. I hoovered the other day under the table where I normally do my card classes, and bear in mind we've been in lockdown. I haven't actually been able to do a face-to-face class for a few months, and there were dimensionals. I think what they must have done is gone sideways and gone under the skirting board and then decided to pop their little heads out when I least expected it. Okay, right, okay, so I think that's the last of the back ends. Looks like I've had a snowstorm. Right, okay, so we should, if I'm careful, be able to flip this over. There we go. And we need to line that up with our first layer. Again, apologies, you're getting my head in the shot. Right, okay, and then what we can do is just tuck that piece of wire in there. So let's have a look and see how we're getting on so far. Oh, light's pretty. Okay, now we've got ourselves over with our wire to the other side. Okay, and we need to do the same thing again. We need to come down the side and go across to our last layer, which is going to go across here to complete our snowy hills. So again, I'm going to flip that over and go along the edge with the glue dots. Top edge, not bottom edge. These glue dots seem determined not to stick to the paper, but to stick to me instead. Okay, so I have one there. Honestly, I feel your pain. This is worse than watching paint dry, isn't it? Watching me stick glue dots on. Hopefully it's given you time to go off and have a cup of tea or do a quick manicure or finish writing your Christmas list. Okay, now that last end is quite skinny. There you go, as you can see. So make sure your glue dot isn't showing out through there. So we need the lights to come back over to this side, and hopefully there is enough. Yes, there is. Okay, so you need a little bit of slack. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop a glue dot onto, or a couple of glue dots onto this edge here so that I can attach our wires to go down the edge of the frame. Okay, so don't forget about this. If you do it as I said and not as I'm doing, don't forget that you have got to tuck your wires in along the edge of the frame. Once it's all back in the frame, it won't show. Says she, hopefully, because you can just push them right down like that. Right, okay, so let's get rid of the glue dots. So I think we are done with those for the minute. So I'm just going to get rid of that backing, get rid of all those dimensional backings later. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take these final set of lights up from the bottom. So you've got to be able to get that on that corner. So I think what I'm going to have to do is do this a bit backwards. So we'll do our flippy trick like we did before. So we're going to have one on there, just allow a little bit of leeway to flip it over. Okay, first one is on, and then we're going to run along and put the rest on. Oops. Make sure you, as much as possible if you can, that you get the wire on the middle of the glue dot, and you can bend it because they are wire. You can bend it to go around your dimensionals or follow the curve of the die cut along the edge. Okay, oh, there we go, and you can tuck it in. I don't know if you can see. I think my hands are probably a bit out of shot and I can't move the frame up. Okay, I think we are done. So let's take the backs off these and then I can show you what I've done by moving it up. If you Sorry, lost my train of thought there. You, as I said, you can follow the line of the die cut by shaping the wire, or you couldn't see me doing it, but I have just tucked one of my wires literally round the dimensional. And you'll notice that I haven't got a dimensional on this end corner because I've got the glue dot there. You can put one if you wanted to, but it would have to be a mini one. Right, I'm just going to check. I think I've taken all the back ends off. Yep, right, so we're just going to flip that over, making sure to tuck in the wire. And again, I appreciate that my hands are pretty much out of shot. Right, okay, I'm just going to hold that up now so you can see. So you can see that we've got all our layers in there. We've just got a little bit of the wire showing here behind this one. So what I'm going to do is just tuck that in like that. And then once we tip it back into the frame, it won't show. But just to make doubly sure, I'm going to grab a mini dimensional. They really are quite a lot smaller than the big ones. So bring it into the packet. Let's grab a little teeny tiny mini one and just poke that behind there. Just small enough. Okay. Right, there we go, and that should hide that wire out of our way. So, now, I can hear you asking, how are we going to get rid of this battery pack? Because it does need to go round to the back of the frame. Now, I think the wire is probably going to be thin enough that it can go through the frame, but if you wanted to, and you'd have to do this before you attach any of your lights anywhere, is that you could make a hole through the backboard with a crocodile or with a really heavy duty hole punch. But obviously bear in mind that if you do that, you need to feed these wires the entire length that we need all the way through the hole to start with. So I'm going to go for just having it poking out of the frame, and to be honest, if I have to, I'll just take a nick out of the backboard before I put it back together. So let's turn it on. Oh, have I just blinded you all with light? There we go. So we've got our lights shining round the frame and behind our heels. Right, I'm just going to turn those back off. So now this is where the fun bit starts. We're going to decorate it and make it look pretty. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cut out the bits and pieces that we need because, again, you don't need to listen to my Gemini whirring away. So I'm just going to bring in the bits and pieces that we've got. And I still haven't made up my mind yet exactly where everything is going because I'm a bit last minute like that. But what I have got some trees and some houses. So these houses have been cut out of the DSP that goes with the whole coming home suite. But equally, if you have the stamps, you could stamp them and die cut them. I was just being a bit lazy, and they're nicely multicoloured. So we've got houses, 2 houses. And then I've used the In the Pines dies, and I have cut some trees, which I have already added fine tip glue and glitter to. There's that one. I saved this one to last to show you how I did it. And then I've also done that on the houses. I've used some fine tip glue and added a little bit of glitter. So we're going to go ahead and put these in. So for the houses, I'm going to add some dimensionals to the back. Okay. Obviously, if you wanted, these are DSP, and our DSP is reasonably thick, but if you really felt that you needed it to be a bit thicker, then stamp them and die cut them from white card. Okay, so there are our houses, and then we've got our trees. So the first thing we're going to do, I think I had more or less decided that that bungalow was going to go there, and this house was going to come down there because he's the tallest one. So I'm going to take off the dimensional backs. Honestly, it looks like it's been snowing in here. There's that much glitter and dimensional backs knocking about my craft room. Right, okay, so we're going to put him in there like that. And then we're going to add in some trees. Now, with the trees, I would suggest that if you want to use dimensionals to get a bit of height, you use mini ones. You can, of course, just stick them flat. But the mini dimensionals will, if you're careful, you can find enough places on the back of these bigger trees especially to hide them. Okay. Oh, dropped it on the floor. Leave it alone, pussycat. Okay, my cat, you can't see her. I wish I could turn the camera around. Let's have a go, see if I can. She is... Oh, can we get her? Oh, nearly. Oh, not quite. Hang on, let's bring you down a bit more. Oh, no. No, I can't get her. No, I'm afraid you won't be able to see her today. Oh, no, no, sorry, she's out of shot, and now my tripod has decided to fall off its shelf. Oh my goodness me, what a drama. Okay, I'm just going to wedge that back on my bureau, and I'm really sorry if that made you feel a bit sick for a bit. Oh, we've got problems going on here, haven't we? Actually, no, there we go. I'm going to take it off and show you the cat, because it's just there she is. There's my little Bella. There she is. She's my little crafting companion. She likes to come in and help me. You might want to close your eyes for this bit, because I've got to put the bracket back on the shelf. Oh my word, it's all going wrong today. Okay, so I'm not one of these people that has a huge, great, tidy, immaculate desk. So I'm really sorry if you're suffering from seasickness caused by the wobbling of my tripod. That'll teach me to try and show you stuff that isn't on my desk, won't it? And in fairness, usually Bella is on my desk, usually when I want to craft. She's very furry, as you just saw. Right, let's try and bring you back into shot without getting it off the desk again. There we go. There. Hopefully you can see that. Right, okay, so, yep, now she's taken it as an invitation that I've slid my chair back, that my lap is available for immediate occupation. So if the cat's head appears in a minute, don't be surprised. Right, okay, so there's one of our trees, and we're just going to tuck the stalk in there and tuck that in like that, so it looks like it's growing. Now with these smaller ones, there really is nowhere to hide a dimensional on there, even a mini one, I don't think. Let's just offer it up and have a little look. Oh, I don't know, we might get one in there. So I think with the skinnier trees, you'd probably be better off with some glue. Okay, we're just going to pop that one in there like that. Okay, so that's that one, and then I've got some more here. So for these bigger ones, we're going to go for the mini dimensionals again. Oops, don't want it there. Once this is actually in its frame and the lights are on, even if you can see a little bit of the dimensional behind the tree, it's not going to show, hopefully. Okay, right, so that's one of our bigger ones, and this is going to go over onto this side. Okay, I'll take the dimensionals off the back of the bungalow. Oh, Bella's purring any minute now. Right, now I don't know that we really need a bungalow that's literally set on the side of the hill, do we? We might pop that in there to cover up the tree trunk. Okay, and I've got another tree here that I haven't glittered because I just wanted to show you, so I'm just going to move that slightly to one side there. So basically all I did is I used my fine tip glue pen, but I'm just going to use this quickie glue pen for now because it dries quicker than the fine tip glue pen, and I literally just scribbled. Don't have to be precise, you just want to make sure you get the glue on the tree and not on the paper behind it. Obviously, if you haven't got a fine tip glue pen, you could put some glue on a silicone sheet and then just wipe this over. And then let's bring in the glitter again. It's Christmas, can't have too much glitter, and I know that glitter's not overly environmentally friendly, but obviously this isn't going to be washed down into the water table, it's staying in the tub. Right, okay. And then it's going to be sealed in our frame. Okay, so that's our little tree. It's going to go in there. So this time I am going to put some wet glue onto the back of this one because I think it'll be easier. Just be careful because you don't want it to squidge out between between the branches, as it were. Okay, so I'm going to pop that one in there, like that. Okay, tuck him in there. So I think we're getting there. Okay, so we just need to make sure that these wires are all nicely tucked underneath, and you can see, if I move this back over, that I've had one pop out. So for some reason the end of that one doesn't want to stay stuck. That's where we started over there, but this end has popped out. So if you're careful, you can just lift it and tuck it back down the edge. We just need it behind that corner so it doesn't do that and poke out there. So if you're really careful, you can lift your dimensionals up and use them to keep it in place. Okay. You can see why you need to glitter this edge first, because obviously if you try and do this now with wet glue along there, it's just going to be a sticky disaster. Okay, right, so let's just see how that looks, shall we? Ready? Oh, there we go. Right. Okay, so the last thing I decided, obviously I am going to glitter these trees, but the last thing I decided to do was I felt that this was a lot of sky with not a lot in it. So I have got some shimmer ink. I just felt like everything else was very sparkly, and I felt like these spots really probably ought to be sparkly. So I am going to just get a little paintbrush. This shimmer ink will wash out. And I'm just going to get a little bit out of the... This is nearly empty, this one. I'm pushing the ball bearing around, but a little bit. And I'm just going to use my paintbrush, hold on to the brush and use one finger to tap it to put some splats. And they then will hopefully look like stars. Just don't go mad. And obviously you can put some on your white pieces if you feel inclined. Okay, I'm just gonna literally wipe that for now and I'll wash that off in a bit. Okay, I'm just cleaning up my brush a little bit. Okay, right. Oh, that really is not going to stick there, is it? I think we might have to go for an extra glue dot for that one. Either that or it's me being at a funny angle. Again, sorry if you've got my head in the shot. Trying to get that pressed against that glue dot. Right, okay, hopefully that's it. So we've got a little bit of shimmer paint here, which is obviously going to need to dry. And then it's not Christmas without Father Christmas, is it? So no, we're not going to put Father Christmas in the sky, but I have used the North Pole Wonder stamps and dies, and we have a sledge and we have some reindeer. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some dimensionals on the back of the sledge. Oh, the cat's given up on trying to get on my lap and she's defected over to a box to sit on. Now, what I've done is I've stamped these reindeer in soft suede, and then I've used a sponge to go over them with some soft suede just to give a little bit of a texture like their coat. And on the sleigh, I have stamped it in basic grey, and then I've used a Dilectica silver pad with sponge again, just to give it a little bit of glimmer. Okay, I did try stamping it in the Dilectica, which looked lovely, but it was quite pale against everything else. So, and then what I'm going to do is I am going to bring in some twine in a second, so our reindeer look like they're pulling the sleigh. Now, I appreciate that this isn't the full crew, but we'd have needed a lot more sky for that. So I've got our 3 reindeer. They've all got a dimensional on the back, and I have got some twine somewhere that I've already cut. My desk looks like a bomb's gone off. Ah, it's on my lap. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the dimensional on the back of the reindeer to attach one end of the twine, and make sure obviously you've got your twine facing the right way because the reindeer's pulling the sleigh. So that's one. And what I've done is I've cut these at different lengths so that the reindeers can all be placed sort of one in front of the other. So that's 2. And then we just need one more piece of twine to get Rudolph nearer to the sleigh. Okay. Now this isn't Stampin' Up twine, but you can use whatever you've got. I just thought this was nice because it had a little bit of gold in it. I know with everything else on the picture is silver, but you know, it's Christmas, it's sparkly. And I couldn't find twine with silver in it. I have got some somewhere, but I've obviously put it away safely. Okay, so what we now need to do is we now need to attach the 3 reindeers to the sleigh, which I thought we'd have the sleigh down here so it looked like it was taken off. And then we'll have our reindeers looking like they are flying. So first of all, we'll attach the reindeer. So we're going to go for the furthest one away first. So let's pop him down there. Remember, he's already got a dimensional on his back because we put the twine on. And then we'll have the next one. Just make sure that your twine is all pointing to the same place, because that's how we're going to attach the sleigh. And then we'll have our last one just taken off over the trees there, I think. And then we can take the dimensionals off the back of the sleigh, and I'm going to just have to trim that last piece of twine down. I didn't want to cut it too short. Okay, so I'm just going to trim that off. Okay, and then make sure they're straight, and then we want our sleigh just looking like it's taking off from the trees. There we go. Finished. Right, so the last thing to do is to put it all back in the frame. And obviously I've just remembered that I haven't glittered these trees yet. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue. Again, normally I'd use the fine tip glue, but this is just the easiest way of doing it. And then I've got a little tip for you for glittering trees. If you put a card together, if you're anything like me, sometimes I put a card together and then I forget to do the glittering. And obviously you don't want glitter necessarily, well, you might do, all over the front of your card. So this is just a little tip. Okay, so Chinese takeaway tub, everybody remember that? Okay, slide it behind your raised area, like that. And then, actually, to be fair, a flat lid is easier, but you can just sprinkle, and most of the glitter will go on the lid. Okay, let's just do these 3. Obviously I can knock off any excess before I put the frame in. That's those ones. Whoever heard of too much sparkle at Christmas, eh? Okay, let's get these ones. And last but not least, did I actually put any glue on those? No. There we go, a little bit of glue on there. A bit of glitter. This is why I use a tub, because you can always shake it back in, which makes it way easier and you get less wastage of your glitter. There we go. There we go. So the Chinese takeaway tub probably wasn't the best thing to slide behind, but you get the gist. Anything flat that you can slide behind will help you do that. You could even slide like a silicone mat behind there, because then you could bend it to get it in. Right, I'm just going to give this a little bit of a blow. Okay, right, now we need to come back in with our frame. Okay, now remember the whole thing has got to be tipped into this, and I'm trying to balance the frame on my knees, which isn't going to work because I have short legs. So let's just lift this backing board up and hold on to this edge, because don't forget the backing board is not attached to the edge. Oh, that pesky light has come off there again. Oh, all right, just excuse me while I put another glue dot on there, please, because that is going to drive me absolutely doolally. Every time I look at this frame, all I'm gonna see is the end of that light waving around. Okay, let's put another one on. Okay, that's got it, hopefully. Okay, so don't forget to hold on to your battery pack. And obviously the sensible way would be to tip this upside down, but the frame upside down. Right, so we're just going to drop that in to there, and you can see there's plenty, turn that round so hopefully you can see there's plenty gap around the edge to attach your battery pack. And then what we need to do is put the tabs down. Now I'm really hoping and praying that I've got this central, otherwise you're going to think I'm a right idiot. Okay, let's put the tabs back down and swing it over, and there it is. Okay, so that's it without the lights on. Now we've got our battery pack that's nice and handy around the side. I'm just going to attach that with some more glue dots around the side. So if you tip your frame up, you can see these lights are quite thin. So all we're going to do, you might want to use some meatier glue dots for this, but just for the purpose of the video, I'm just going to literally put a couple of glue dots onto the back. Now, my only other word of warning with these is make sure that you can get the back open if you need to replace the battery. So I would put the glue dots not on the section that's got the writing on, because that's the front, that's how it actually opens. Put them on the back where you can see the terminals for the battery. So I'm just going to slide that round, find another glue dot, because we don't want this coming off and falling down, do we? So let's put plenty on there. 1, 2, okay, I'm going for 3. Hopefully that should hold it up well enough. Okay, so that's that, and then we can just tip the frame and attach that to the side of the frame, which will make it easier to turn it on as well. Having it on the back means you've got to take it down from wherever you've hung it. Having it on the side makes it easier. So hopefully you can see that. I've just attached that battery pack on the side of the frame, and because it's slim, it's recessed. So once it's on the wall, you can't see it. Okay, and let's turn it on and have a little look. So there it is. So there's our box frame completed. I hope you like it. There we go, with our light up panels and Santa's sleigh taken off. Now if I had a bit more time, what I'd probably do is make some little presents to go in there, and I might well do that. I might actually come back to this and take the frame back off and add some piles of little cut out presents to go on there, which I think would just finish it off. And you can see here I've just got to make a little tweak. The wire is just poking out there, so I can just quickly take the back off again and give that a little tweak. But hopefully you will agree with me that that is a pretty effective way to use your Stampin' Up supplies with a box frame. Okay, so that's all from me. I have to say, I think this is probably the longest video I've ever made, so thank you for bearing with me, and I will see you all again soon. Happy stamping!